Hey guys, welcome back to the Logic Speak podcast. I'm your host, Adam Bieber. There's Jason Etheridge.
That would be me.
How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Really good. Yeah.
So we're going to do something a little bit unique today that we've not really done before.
Yeah.
You and I literally just came from an event, and we're going to talk about it because we're coming off of this
fresh on our minds
energy, this high. It's very fresh on our minds. We both like certain things that were clicking as we were listening to the speaker. We're tying to other subjects that we've already talked about, and so we thought, what better way to process this than to do it with a camera on and a microphone hot and share with our friends what we learned.
Yeah.
So would you so we got to go to this event called Leadership Labs. What is Leadership Labs?
So Leadership Labs is an event that's done infrequently, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, by a local church, North Point Community Church.
Yep.
And they bring in business leaders, mostly business leaders, thought leaders, people who have something to give to leaders who are looking to be better set up to lead the people that they lead.
Yeah.
That's certainly not the best way to say that, but that's my summary.
Yeah.
And so they, Tim Elmore, who I know you know very well, has been a past speaker. Today, Arthur Brooks.
Yep.
Amazing. And then, there's been a couple other ones, but
they do it virtually. So if you actually Google Leadership Labs, you can register and watch it digitally if you're not local. If you are local, next time it comes around, just sign up for their newsletter so that you know.
Yeah.
And it's totally worth going to. The room was packed.
Yep.
I was shocked at how many people were there early because I got there early.
I got there early and the parking lot was full.
It was packed. And so thankfully we got to sit together and enjoy it. One of the things I loved about what Andy got up and said before, who's Andy Stanley, who has a great leadership podcast and is also the founding pastor of that church. He just said that, like, as leaders, we have to individually grow our personal leadership, which helps us grow our influence, within our companies and organizations and, the people that we're influencing. But then also it strengthens the community as a whole.
Correct.
Which I just loved. I'm like, this is our mission.
Feels like our backyard, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. So, today was Dr. Arthur Brooks. He's a Harvard Business School professor, a PhD, and he has dedicated the last several years of his life to evaluating what makes a person happy and find meaning in life, which I think is very ambiguous, but he did such a good job at coupling science and research to feeling and emotion, I felt like.
Yeah. Well, I think getting into, how his journey, really, I think he said he was 55 maybe, and he had this crisis essentially, which we all go through at some point, which is, what's the meaning of life? Why am I here? What is this next season of my life supposed to be? And he literally quit his job and
walked a couple hundred miles.
Went on
Spain.
walkabout. Yeah, absolutely. And on that walk determined, kind of what God had for the rest of his life, and everything that we now know about him and the books that he's written and everything we've read can be attributed to that decision.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
So the whole concept was that as a society, as a culture, or just an American population, which I feel like also probably other countries would say they feel this too, because the why, the reasons are felt globally. But we are experiencing, especially in the last 15,
what do you say, since 2009,
16, 17 years,
2008, 2009,
a shift in society and in culture that has been having a detrimental effect on the population.
Yep.
Increased depression and anxiety by like 300%.
Yeah.
A lot of, I wrote down depression tripled, anxiety doubled since 2008. And it's not just certain people groups. It's hit even high performers, highly educated people.
Yep.
And there's a commonality of like what's taken place since then, which I just go back to like when the first iPhone came out.
Yeah. And, it's especially kind of being in the technology space and being excited about technology and all the things, I think it's important that we also recognize the downsides of technology and without his talk and without really kind of having that clarity, it wouldn't be obvious that, the downside of technology is increasing amounts of depression, anxiety, and certainly, not to vilify any one technology, but social media has played a probably greater degree, or has bigger responsibility in that than maybe anything else.
Yeah.
But wow, it makes me, I know you and I both have younger children. It gave me significant pause to think about my children and the effect of technology, if not counteracted, and if we don't learn from this generation, the worry about how technology will impact them.
I'm gonna need your help kind of explaining this, but he started by talking about the whole left brain, right brain idea that I didn't realize started back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid and certainly growing up, it was left brain, right brain, and whether or not you were artistic or whether or not you were analytical, yep. Right? And in school it would be, are you good at math or are you good at language arts and English, or are you, do you play in the band, or are you, really good at science, or those kinds of things. And I think he was pretty clear that distinction of left brain, right brain has really been debunked, or doesn't get talked about anymore in that way.
Plenty of psychological research that shows that like you're not one or the other. Like he even used himself as an example.
Correct.
Like his mom was way more artistic. Dad was a data analyst or something like that. And he's like, well,
and he's done both.
Yeah, I've been a musician in my life and a PhD.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think that today's thinking in terms of left brain, right brain, really the newer science and the newer data, neuroscience, is that one is kind of the why side of our lives. Why do things happen? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What are the deeper meanings? And then the other side of the brain is the what, the getting things done, learning information, adapting information, that more kind of what I would call tactical parts of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So then, and I think a lot of this content's in his recent book, which we both got a copy, called The Meaning of Your Life, which does seem like a presumptuous statement to be able to just put on the front cover of the book. And
I know the meaning of your life. Here, read this book.
Yeah. Let me tell you. But what's interesting is I think it's in the book. We haven't read it yet. We got it today. But he then talked about how that's shifted from left brain, right brain to there are kind of two sides of operating that we all desperately need to activate both in order to have peace and feel meaning and true happiness in life. And it's more the difference between the why side of your brain and the what side of your brain.
Right. And, I think the connection or the tie is that with increasing technology forces us or causes us to focus more exclusively on the what.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. It's information.
Yeah. Lots of information always at your fingertips. You can get any answer in general. A lot of the what answers you can get from any sort of AI. He even mentioned can you type it into ChatGPT or in your Google search and get the answer? Like those are all what questions, and that, those are woefully inadequate in addressing a lot of the why questions. And so, because we're inundated every single day, all day with technology, our brains, light up on the what side, and we don't address.
We neglect the why.
Neglect the why side,
and that's where at least from his research, that is where the aimlessly wandering this world and feeling like there's no meaning or purpose is because that side, the side of the brain that contemplates deep spiritual and intellectual and conceptual and physical things, you just can't do that when you're constantly scrolling and you're constantly swiping and you're constantly being inundated with information. And so he really tied a lot of the struggle with depression, anxiety, lack of happiness, lack of meaning and purpose to the rise and use of social media, which now, like 5 years ago, this was maybe 7, 8 years ago, this was like, more theory. Now there's so much research.
Yeah, we were just starting to understand the implications. Now we know.
Now we know. And so and here's the other cool thing. You and I just did a podcast a couple weeks ago about how being able to remember and go back to your own why helps you to discover the why of other people so that you can be a better leader to those that you're leading.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of cool because now we have a little bit more language and context and research to go, it's very valid for you to pursue not just the what out of your job and leadership and everything else, but to carve out space for you to explore that why.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think we're learning it's even more important than we talked about a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, to kind of add to that, one of the things that he was talking about that really activate the why side of our brain is something that we all, I think, try to run away from, which is boredom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he jokingly said, I mean, nobody wants to focus on boredom because boredom is boring.
Yeah. And but to some people scary.
Yeah. And scary, right? Because you're left with only your own thoughts, but that's where the why side of your brain activates and you get time to focus on, or he said to let your mind wander, which I thought was really, really helpful.
Yeah.
You know, certainly as an Enneagram 7, as somebody who is an extrovert, like there are very few times where I do just lean into being bored. I feel guilty when I'm bored, like I'm not taking advantage of the time, like I'm not filling it with something productive or I'm not moving something forward. And so it really spoke to me that certainly with my personality profile, that I need to be intentional about creating times for that, to activate that side of my brain, for boredom to take over and for my mind to wander. And if I look back on my life, it's in those moments when I've had epiphanies or ideas that were the next thing,
iteration
of something or personal growth or logic speak direction or, you know, something I wanted to do in my family or for my children. Those nuggets or those ideas came out of time when I was less busy, when I had margin, when I focused on being, right?
Yeah.
So good.
It really was. I mean, I think about some of the best thoughts and ideas and creativity that I get. And sometimes I struggle with this because I also I don't know if it's a result of being diagnosed with ADHD and like stimulation helping in some cases, because there is a little bit of a reality to that. But sometimes it's like certain types of music. Like I'll listen to movie soundtracks sometimes and not do anything else because my mind wanders and I start thinking of ideas. Or in the past when I was like heavy in like half marathon training and I'd be on long runs, I might still be listening to music, but really my mind is like just thinking and processing and getting creative. And some of the best ideas I've ever had have come out of those moments. But we culturally have shifted to unintentionally thinking that this is just a tool, and for folks like us, I think there's better boundaries, but unfortunately the younger generation never had to grow up without this, never had to grow up without access to Google, now without access to ChatGPT. Whereas, I mean, I remember encyclopedias and, you know, like
literally you had to open a book and that like literally A to Z.
To learn about, you know, whatever concept or idea or topic you wanted to research. So
I'm so grateful that I grew up kind of before technology became so prevalent.
Yeah.
So much of my life was informed by those early formative years of going outside, playing, to your
waiting
point.
for the streetlights to come on. Yeah.
Well, even having to, like I read this recently, ours was the last generation, you know, our collective, probably me to you, where we had to wait a week to watch the next show. And if we didn't sit down in front of the TV at that moment,
you missed it.
Right? And then you had to wait for reruns to come out, you know, years later.
Oh, I remember, and I don't even remember what show it was, but I remember like waiting, goes to commercial break, you run to the bathroom, and
to come back,
like,
so
your
you didn't miss
family
anything.
members like joking around like, it's back on, and you're like, what? Trying to hurry up, and you come out and it's still running
commercial.
TV ads.
No, but it's that waiting, that lack of instant gratification.
Yes,
actually, that was so healthy.
Yeah,
and we didn't even know it.
Yeah,
right. And so I think one of the parts of the talk that I took away is that you have to find ways, he said, to manage technology. You're not going to eliminate technology. Like you said, you can't get on an airplane anymore without having your phone or some technology.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they do still print boarding passes, but like people look at you crazy, like, why do you have paper in your hand? Right?
Yeah.
But you have to find ways to manage technology and not be managed by it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really helpful to create rules or systems.
Well, let's talk about some of those rules, because I was a bit convicted. I'll be honest.
You felt
as
attacked.
a millennial. As a millennial, yeah. I mean, I think I have bought into the lie, and I'm going to be vulnerable here. I think I've bought into the lie that like sometimes I need the decompression of watching a YouTube video or something just to like start to quiet my mind. And there may be some validity to that, but it doesn't have to be in front of a screen.
Right.
And
nor does it have to be always. Like, when it becomes like, let's be honest, right? Who goes into the bathroom anymore without their phone in their hand?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Seriously.
So when it becomes automatic like that, I think that's where the danger comes.
Yeah.
Certainly, you had a busy day. You need to decompress before you kind of engage with your family or whatever. Of course, we would all agree that those moments can be important. Yeah. But if it's always replaced by technology, if it's always, that's what
the social media one. Thankfully, I was challenged to take a break, and needed to. Yeah. I was going through some things and then just stayed off of it. So the only social media I have is LinkedIn, specifically for,
which has a deeper business purpose than just keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. But so he talked about the first hour you wake up, no screens, and then the last hour before bed, no screens. And I was like, flip. It's like sometimes that's when the decompression happens. Or when I'm trying to watch American Idol.
Although let's be honest, especially like if my wife is going to bed a little earlier than me, and I might watch a show or something, but then I pull out my phone and then the doom scrolling of videos or something, and I look up and it's 2.5 hours later. It's 12:30. I wake up the next morning. I'm exhausted. Yeah. For what? Yeah. For a couple of laughs or maybe an educational video at something like. I mean, honestly, like he said, it has nothing for you. Yeah. Really.
I loved the challenge for meal times. Yeah. And because what he said is there's actual research now that shows that just by having this on the table, which
even on the table,
you don't even have yours on the table, but I have mine
in my pocket.
That actually slows the potential for relational connection just by having it on the table.
Can I quickly give a shout out to my wife? Please. She probably won't listen, but on the off chance that she does. She was very intentional about suggesting, hey, I think we need to have a rule that there's no technology at the table. Even though my kids don't have technology yet in that form. I mean, they have an iPad, a shared iPad, and Jameson's got a watch. But in terms of me and Jen, we don't bring our phones to the table. We don't, I've been guilty, I will admit, on the air, that I've been guilty of trying to pull out my phone to look up a fact, or we're talking about something at the dinner table and I want to get the answer. Yeah. But I've learned and I've agreed with her that it's better that we have a technology-free zone where we can talk about our day, talk about wins, talk about challenges, talk about life with our children and bury that in them early so that when they're 15, 16, 17 and they do have a phone, that we've already set that as an example and that we don't have technology. So that's all credit to Jen.
That's shout out to Jen. The only way that we're going to be able to break this cycle and this habit is by modeling it for the next generation and modeling this behavior of asking why questions and contemplating things together as a family, not just asking what questions. Yeah. And that really convicted me because I sit there and I'm like, how many times do I just want to talk about an interesting fact when we could sit there and just ponder and wonder together?
Complete sidebar, but somewhat related. I'm so guilty of asking my kids the most common question, how was your day? How was school today? And guess what they say? Good, fine, whatever.
What'd you do? I don't know.
Yeah. What'd you learn today? I don't know. Same things, But I heard one time that one of a really good questions that you can ask your children and get used to them answering is, what were you most proud of today? Ooh. And I've asked, and it's, my kids are 11 and 6. And so it's, the 6-year-old has got more answers than the 11-year-old, but, they're different. But it's one of the things I want to keep asking, that I want to get good at asking so that they know Daddy's going to ask what I'm proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I might have to borrow that one. I've tried to say things like when I was growing up, we used to do highs and lows at the dinner table. Yeah. And then I heard somebody recently, they were like a high, a low, and a buffalo. And I was like, well, what's the buffalo? And they're like, just something random. And so it's like, okay, so what was the best part, the worst part, and then just a random part? Yeah.
That's cool.
And so we've tried that. Hey, tell me highs and lows. We do talk about what we're grateful for. The other night, like I usually try to, like, the age that you are is the number of things you have to say you're thankful for.
Ooh.
And so obviously I'll do Benji's, not mine.
49 at this point would be tough.
It'd be a lot. But he so the other night I said, "Can you tell me 7 things you're thankful for?" He goes, "Yeah. I'm thankful for your dad's son." And I was like, "Me?" And he was like, "Yep." And then he goes, "And I'm thankful for Nana's daughter." And I was like,
that would be yeah.
And so we just keep going, and he was having fun, and even some of those things I think help to break that cycle of going straight from screen to bed to
love it.
We've also tried to cut off, like, if we are doing screen time, if we're watching a show or something, to like cut it off and be like, hey, go spend 15 minutes in your room reading before bed. Yep. And that just kind of helps to settle. So, man, there's so much that he talked about today that I just want to unpack.
One of the other things, just because it was so impactful for me, of the 4 things that he suggested, one of them was, in life, ask the big questions.
Yeah.
Why am I alive? And for what would I die?
Ooh. Yeah.
Man, those are some good questions.
Yeah. But what's interesting is I feel like you've answered the first one because of your personal mission statement that you've shared here on the podcast. Yeah. And so but it's good to revisit it. Like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, what's my purpose? Why am I alive?
Yeah.
And really do some soul searching on that. And then, for what would I die is kind of a big one. That feels very patriotic, but it's also more like speaks to the
it's very personal,
the deep personal things that drive you and that you care about deeply. He did talk about like love and heartbreak as things that actually develop that why side of the brain that unfortunately with online dating and social media, like that has poisoned the experience. Now, not to say if you found your spouse online or through a dating app, congratulations. You're among the very, very few. Yeah. I think. But the reality is we're not going and shooting our shot.
Yep.
We're not going and seeing what could happen.
It was because I exited the dating scene, thank goodness. Of course I did the eHarmony and the match and all the things. I met Jen through
Farmers
church.
Only?
Never Farmers Only. I did do It's Just Lunch one time. And we were talking yesterday with a buddy, and he did 8 at 8, and that was another speed dating thing. But all that was before the apps, right? We didn't have the swipe left, swipe right, all this kind of stuff. But and I get that in today's disconnected society, those apps have their place. They have allowed people to find their spouses. I 100% get that. Yeah. But to your point that Dr. Brooks was making is that it has taken away this critical part of life, of real life, where you give your heart away. Yeah. Where you are pining for, or you have this object of your affection.
Yeah. You put yourself out there.
Madly in love with someone, then you have to go tell them, and all those things. Those are a critical part of the development, of our brains, and that just wasn't obvious to me. It was really, really interesting.
Well, and it's the critical part of the brain that helps us to see meaning and happiness and have purpose in life.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the risky things. Yeah. The last thing I'll mention that I thought was so powerful was he talked about how we are so inundated with content that's you do you. Yeah. It's all about you.
Right.
You fight to the top, very, very selfish, very self-centered. And he said, actually, what helps break that loneliness and that lack of happiness is to minimize yourself.
Yeah,
and to
I think he said,
for others.
Get smaller.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down.
And I was hoping that he would kind of lean into this a little bit more, but obviously he had so much content to get through in 40 minutes. But really what immediately came to mind was serving. Yeah. Like when you go and you serve for the purpose of serving other people
without expecting anything in return,
you get so much out of it.
Every time.
There's so much satisfaction and joy in being able to, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard work. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it takes a toll, but it also does something very helpful in shifting your perspective,
Yeah.
and taking it off of yourself and putting it on other people and other things, and going, wow, like I just get to be a part of this.
You want to get a perspective boost and to get clear about, kind of perspective, go on a mission trip, or, if that's not your thing, do a service trip to a country that needs it.
Yeah.
And you will find very quickly that you come back with more gratitude and that you were impacted at least as much, if not more, than the people that you served.
Undoubtedly, that is the truth. I've gotten to be on a couple, and then several years ago, I got to lead one at North Point with Global X to Honduras, and oh my gosh, like it's just unbelievable. Like I have different mile markers in my life of like moments that I felt like changed me.
Yep.
And at least 3 of them have come on mission trips.
Yeah.
At least.
That's great. But that is directly related to getting smaller and focusing on others more.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was encouraging and gave me more motivation to pursue our mission here at Logic Speak, because when I think about why we want to serve the community, I mean, we haven't made the announcement yet, so I won't say it yet, but like you're about to join a board that has a really strong community meaning. Yep. And then we're having a whole meeting tomorrow just to talk about how to make the biggest splash that we can.
Awesome. For
them. And like, that is such a cool thing to be a part of. And so, I hope it added as much wind in your sails as it did me. Yeah. And it's just a good reminder of like being focused on what's most important. And then hopefully this, like, there's not really like a big takeaway. It's like, maybe this just helps you think through and explore, like, what would it look like for me to carve out intentionally time to contemplate why, to pursue the why side of my brain, not the what side of my brain.
I think it was a really good reminder for me that as leaders, it is imperative that we create margin in our lives to be bored.
Yeah.
Right. We are just so hyper efficiency focused, and we just want to fill every waking hour with moving things forward.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs and leaders typically fall into that trap. But the counter is I think, at least if not more important, that you create margin to be able to be bored, to give your brain time to focus on the why, to really get clear about your meaning, the meaning of your life.
Sure.
1, to stave off depression and anxiety, but 2, to show up in the places that you lead as the best possible leader that you can.
Yeah, that's
it was great.
I thought of a couple of things. You remember back in the day when you got on a plane and like your phone truly wouldn't work, and you had
no internet, no free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's right.
Even though I'm a Delta Sky Miles member and I could jump on the free Wi-Fi and continue to the text conversation I'm in, I will go on airplane mode and won't do it.
Isn't it amazing?
It really is. Like now towards the end, I'm like getting a little antsy and whatever, but like even just the trip I just went on, I downloaded a couple shows onto my iPad, and that's all I did was just watch a show and chill, take a nap.
Awesome.
Relax. Or like when we go on a cruise, my family loves to cruise. My wife and I really love it. I will intentionally not get the internet package.
Yep.
I'm like, if there's an emergency, someone can call the cruise line and they can find a way to get a hold of me.
Yep.
I would much rather just have 3 or 4 days technology free. And maybe this is just a very nice camera that I bring out with me, but I'm not sitting there, distracted, and it's just good. He talked about doing like every year he does a 4-day reset where there's no technology, no internet, nothing. And he's just alone with his thoughts and nature. And I was like, man, like that used to be the daily for people.
Right. Do you know one of the lines that I will never forget? He was talking about his relatives, right? And like the Leroy, I think was the name, Leroy Brooks.
Yep.
And he said this line that, Leroy never came in and told his wife, "Man, I had a panic attack behind that mule."
Yeah, I had a panic attack behind the mule today.
Said no farmer ever.
Yeah, and from the 1800s.
Yeah, that was, one, it was funny, but what an illustrative point and something to aspire to get back to.
Yeah, it really is. It really is incredible. So hopefully this podcast, one, maybe it encourages you to go pick up a copy of one of Dr. Brooks's many books, or just look for him on a podcast and listen to him. I think he was on Andy Stanley's podcast recently, so it'd be worth checking that out. But then also like, let's leverage technology as tools to help us for the purpose of us being able to return to more of this, where
Yeah.
we're interacting human to human, building connections, looking people in the eye, and connecting and
Yep.
contemplating the wonders of this world and why we're here. And I think those things all help us feel grounded, achieve happiness and joy in life. And then, I mean, really the anchor point for that is our faith.
Yep.
And that takes it to an even deeper level. So yeah, we hope you're encouraged.
Yeah, this was great.
Any closing thoughts, Jason?
Nope, you said it all. You just closed it out perfectly.
Wonderful. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.
See you next time.